The turn and roll hem makes an ideal start to any project knit in stockinette stitch. Since no ribber is required, this hem is suitable for any flatbed knitting machine. Keep watching and see just how easy it is to knit and how neat and beautiful the edge is.
So I have 48 needles out into hold position. What I'm going to do is I'm going to E-wrap the needles. Now most people will just go right here. I'm going to go from left to right and just do that. But sometimes the tension gets a little bit too tight. So I have a little secret weapon that I use, and this is the stopper, the needle stopper from my garter bar set. And what that does is it stabilizes the needles. So I can move a lot faster, and I don't have to worry about pulling up too tightly. A lot of beginners experience that, and then the first row with their carriage is really rough and hard to do. When I get to the end, I'm just going to bring it under and off to my carriage. If you don't have a stopper to stabilize your needles, you can simply do an E-wrap across. Do it loosely. It won't show when you're all done. Now I prefer to hang my cast-on comb while my stopper is in place because I can just put the hooks right up against it and drop it, and there's no issue. The only thing you have to worry about or be concerned with is making sure you don't hook these end empty hooks on your cast-on comb. Now I'm ready to knit. I'm going to pull that slack up, remove the stopper. I want to make sure I don't get caught. So I'm going to pull up on my yarn because you don't want a loop actually forming on this. Otherwise you have to start over. My tension is set to 6.2 because that's the main tension for this particular yarn. And I'm on knit on my carriage. So it's going to knit in both directions. So I'm going to just make my way across. And that was the first row. Now, if you want, you can count your rows and set your row counter. But all I'm going to do is knit 7 rows, so I'll just count them off. So I have already set it to 1. This is where the fun begins. Okay, so now I have my 7 rows. I'm ending with the carriage on the left. Before I take my cast-on comb off, I'm going to hang weights across this entire row. And this is important because I'm going to be using my garter bar. If you don't have a garter bar, just knit a few rows of waist knitting and you're going to turn. That's why it's called the turn and roll. So I'm going to unthread my carriage here. It's very quick to do this technique using your garter bar. And so what I'm going to do is come back to my stopper, bring all this out, drop this down. This gets pushed back to the needle bed. Now, I'm going to pull a little slack down here so I don't get in the way. And watch what I'm going to do. Because I pushed my knitting back, it opened all my latches. So all I have to do is put my garter bar in the hooks. Now this is a Chris Crafter style garter bar. And now because I have a fair distance and a fair number of stitches here, I'm going to be pulling my knitting out, and what that does is it closes all the latches. Okay, now I'm going to go and simply pull my knitting onto the garter bar. Now you could have a Japanese garter bar and they work fine. This hem works on all machines. It's just that you have to have a garter bar that fits your machine, or just take it off on waist knitting. Okay, now I'm going to push back, open up the latches one more time, and the weight helps when you move stitches with a garter bar. So, hence the first part of the name, I just turned my knitting. Now, I'm going to return the knitting to the needles. And I'm just lining it up and pushing a little bit, and I can feel it going. And now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, that is in the wrong place. So, I'm going to take this off again. You can reset these stitches as many times as you want. Now, let me get this out of the way. I don't know how I got over there, but anyway, let's just hang it up on that. Okay. Now, I'm pulling out with my thumbnails the last stitch so I don't get anything caught. Those are the notorious stitches that get caught, and they cause you a lot of trouble. And back into place. I can feel it. It looks like it's seated, but this is where I'm going to check my work. And if you can see, I'm looking down the stitch channels. These little or I should say the channels on the garter bar, to make sure nothing is hung up. And it isn't, or at least I can't see that it is. And the true test is when you pull the garter bar out, it just comes right out. If it got caught on something, it will hang up. Okay? So now, let's go back to our hem. Now that our hem is in the hooks, we're going to leave it in the hooks, and we're going to remove the cast on comb and the weights. Now, it's okay if it goes back a little bit, but don't let it go all the way back. It's easier to do. It's easier to deal with it. We'll use those weights in just a second. So, see how it's rolling? We turn the knitting, and it's rolling, but we're going to finish it, and it's a nice finished edge. Do you see how my hem is rolling? You could leave it just as that if you wanted to, but I'm going to do one more finishing touch. And I'm going to go here and pick up my E-wraps, the loop of the E-wrap, and hang it on the needle. If you push this all the way back, which you could, you're going to have to pull it forward, and then you're going to be fighting your hooks. So I just like to leave my stitches right in the hooks. Then I don't have to fight it at all. And so then I can go two across and just pick up, if you can see, I'm just picking up the E-wrapped loop of the cast on edge. It's very easy to spot. It's very neat. I've tried it with open stitches and using waste yarn at the beginning. It's a lot more effort, and it doesn't do you any bit of good. Just more work. Now, do you see how this is starting to roll itself off? This is when I would push it back so that I don't lose any of my stitches. As I get to the end, I should have 1-to-1 stitches, because I have exactly the same number of needles as I have E-wrapped. So I have that one, and here's my last one, right on cue. Now, this is where I can push them all back. And that's where I'm going to put a little bit of weight on the middle and the edges. Now we're ready to do our final rows. But as you can see, my yarn is off to the right. So the first thing I have to do after I've hung all this and I've got a little bit of weight on it is take my stopper out of it, because my carriage cannot cross. Then I'm going to set my carriage to hold on this side. And because it doesn't have any yarn in it, and these are all in hold position, the needles are in hold position, nothing's going to happen. I get a free pass. That's row 8 on my row counter. You could take the carriage off and put it on the other side. I don't like to do that. Now that I'm over on the right side, I can reset my carriage yet again. So I'm going to thread my yarn in. My tension was at 6.2. I want to go up 1 full tension, and of course take it off of hold. Okay, and now I'm going to knit my 9th row. What that looser tension, main tension plus 1, does is because I have 2 stitches on each of the needles, it's going to let it lay nice and flat. But I have to remember to switch it back to the main tension before I proceed. My hem is now complete. So now I can just simply continue to knit. And let's just do a few rows. I'm just going to drop the hem off. But as you can see, this is the purl side. And we'll unthread. Drop our knitting off. And let's look at our hem. On the knit side, you have just done this perfect little turn. It's a turned and rolled hem. And on the inside, it just looks like the rest of the purl. So it's so neat and clean. I love it. That's the turn and rolled hem.
I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy machine knitting!